housekeeping rules first. Please be on mute till the end of the presentation. Do not share your screen during the presentation. In case if you want to say anything, please type it in the chat box and we'll respond. We do have a Q&A session in the end, so whatever autism related questions you have, kindly type it in the box so that we can give you a chance to ask them to the guest speaker. This webinar is being recorded, thanks to Jesse, and it may be hosted on YouTube. Please put your name and connect IDs, this is especially for the local guide people, so that we can tag you in the recap on Connect. So this is a rough program that we have for today. There will be an introduction and welcoming of our guest speaker, and then there'll be a presentation related to autism by Mr. B. Then there is a Q&A session planned by the One Accessibility team. There is an autism-friendly maps features session arranged. There will be Q&A session, an interactive session wherein you can interact with Mr. B and ask questions, whatever doubts you have related to autism or anything. He's a fun person and he'll answer you for sure, all your questions. And the next will be a thank you and conclusion session. So let's welcome our guests. You can unmute and give a round of applause for Mr. B, like to call him.
Yes.
Mr. B has, studied inclusion and special education needs at the University of Birmingham. He has an overall experience of around 20 years in the field of autism and related disabilities. He is currently working as an autism post-support worker and in the special education needs SEN team that we call within the Southwark Council in London. Before his current role, he has also worked in the mainstream school as a teaching assistant for a boy with Down syndrome and speech delay. He has also worked as a family support worker for the national charity supporting the parents and children with disabilities in and around London. And prior to his life in UK, that is before 2006, he has been actively working with Save the Children UK Foundation as a disability program officer, developing several parents of children with disabilities in Serbia. So big welcome to you.
Thank you.
Mr. B. Thank you so much for joining us today. And it is an honor to get this chance to speak to you in person and help us all understand what autism is so that we can, be better individuals and also do better contributions of MAP so that we can in any ways, support autistic individuals and children. So thank you for coming. And the thing is, a special thank you, why I want to say is, on my single, I just asked him, okay, without hesitation, he said yes for, contributing to a noble cause. So thank you. I can never thank you enough for that.
No worries.
So if you want, you can just go ahead and share your screen, the presentation. I'll just stop sharing.
To start with, thank you for nice and warm welcoming. My name is Blagoje, but everybody call me Mr. B. Mr. B is much easier to pronounce, number one, and much easier to remember. Why this is important? I will just refer a little bit to what Isha spoke about my history. In the period 2010-2020, I belonged to the Autism and and Related Disorders Clinic in borough that I work, which is Central Borough in London. And I was attending clinics where we were diagnosing children. I was also assessing children for autism, so I was part of the diagnostic team. And my predominant role was to stay with the family in the room when the diagnostic team finished with delivering the diagnosis. My predominant role there was to provide this cushion for the family after breaking the news about the diagnosis. So it was about emotional support, practical support in terms of understanding of the condition, and navigating family about what kind of services they can have access to in our borough. Our borough's got maybe around 250,000 people, according to the last census. And every year in Southwark, this is a borough where I work, we have around 260 children diagnosed between the age of 18 months and 18 years. And I work for the local education authorities, autism support team, and we cater for the nurseries and the primary age, in the primary schools. Unfortunately, we do not cater for the secondary schools because we do not have capacity. So this is just a little bit of a landscape for you to understand the context of where I'm working. Also, what is important to say is that in that period that I was working 10 years at the clinic, I met just over 2,000 children with this diagnosis. Today, I will try to explain to you all different shapes and forms in which autism is coming, how it is different, and how it actually potentially can affect the young people, and how it affects them and their families and the community overall. So I will share my screen now, and I'm going to briefly just go through the information about the autism. So please feel free to type in the questions or stop me if you want me to be more specific about something. Okay? So I will refer to National Autistic Society and the diagnostic criteria. So Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, or DSM-5. So this is the manual that world is using to define the various conditions around the world, medical conditions. It defines autistic spectrum disorder as persistent difficulties with social communication and social interaction, and restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior, activities, or interests. So this is also including sensory behavior. This is present since early childhood to the extent that that limits and impair everyday functioning. In DSM-5, the term autistic disorder, Asperger disorder, children disintegrative disorder, and PDD-NOS, or pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. All of these has been replaced under the one umbrella called autistic spectrum disorder. So throughout today's presentation, I will use either autistic spectrum disorder or autism to kind of describe what I'm talking about. I will not be using other terms that I will mentioning them, but I will not use them officially, as such. So if you read this description here, I'm not 100% sure that people who never came into contact with this condition will absolutely certain about what does it mean. And when you read it like, what is autism? Well, within the clinic, we are coming to diagnosis through observation. And observation is what we gather at the clinic. So when the child comes there, we are using something called Autistic Diagnostic Observation Scale, or ADOS, set of questionnaires together with the toys. You are giving these to the child, and you are observing how child reacts according to what we are giving to the child. What we are trying to compare during this assessment is whether child is responding in a manner how typical developing child of that age should respond to us. We are particularly focusing on the way how child has social communication and interaction with us, whether his social imagination and flexibility is impaired, whether there are any sensory differences, and whether child is anxious. So I will now come back to this one. Just give me 1 second. So the first part of observation is us at the clinic. However, before the child gets to the clinic, child has already been seen through the previous stages of the health assessment. So we will already have information from pediatrician who will refer the child to the clinic, autism clinic. We will have a report from the speech and language therapist, who will also indicate that there might be some autistic traits. If the child is the age, nursery age or school age, we will ask those settings, either nursery or school, to send us questionnaire back. So we send them questionnaire so they can observe the child and send it back to us. So we already have at least 3 sources of information. Fourth source of information is parallel. During the assessment of the child, one professional is playing with the child and assessing the child, while the other is having an interview with the parents, talking about the developmental history of the child and looking for any of the indicators that the child might be showing some of the difficulties in those common areas. Now, if I come back to the first one, social communication and interaction, and if we think about autistic spectrum disorder, let's say communication. If we have a child age of 2 coming to our clinic without any speech, if I imaginatively use the spectrum, I will say that that child is at the lower end of the spectrum, lack of skills, so no speech developed. However, sometimes you will have a child who has only speech development, and that child will compensate for lack of speech by pointing, pulling your hand, wanting to interact with you. In autism, this part is lacking. Child is nonverbal, child has no abilities to engage with you and still don't understand what are the child's powers to interact with the environment. What we frequently see for these little kids who are nonverbal is they will grab your hand, take you to the desired object. It could be fridge, asking for the juice, and standing there and waiting for you to do something for them. If you're bringing out things that they don't like, they might show some behavior difficulties, crying, screaming, tantrum, because their request has not been met by you. So the problem is with communication. Social imagination and flexibility. My little friends, and I like to refer to children as my little friends, tend to have a very rigid way of thinking, including very rigid way of play. So their play tend to be really repetitive, aligning up the toys in a straight line, usually in the same order, same color, stacking the blocks, turning them down, lining the cups. Very frequently, if they have some skills, very interested for letters, numbers, because these are the same and predictable. 1 is always 1 all over the world. 2 is always 2 all over the world. It's the same, and my little friends like the sameness, like predictability. Sensory differences. Sensory differences is in terms of, let's talk about what are the senses. So we have 5 that all of us know: vision, smell, taste, hearing, touch. And we have 2 more: balance and proprioception. Proprioception meaning, where am I in the space? How far is my arm in front of me? Am I sitting? All of this information you get from the tendons, muscles, pressure that goes up your spine and informing your brain about your position in the space. Equally, it comes with the noise. So, for example, while I'm talking to you, I'm currently in a building at the 11th floor, and there is a main highway passing near my building. I'm talking to you, and I can hear the noise of the cars down there. But number 1 in my brain is, be serious, talk to these people, don't act like a fool, and forget about the noise. So my brain is helping me to filter out that and to focus on the number 1, which is social interaction and communication with you. If, for example, it was really cold here and I'm only in a short sleeve t-shirt and I'm cold, I will be starting shivering, so I will stop this conversation and go and put on some clothes, because my headquarters is telling me, go and do this. So the hierarchy of the events is based on the child. because autism in Latin stands for self. I am the most important thing in the world, and my needs are most important thing in the world. So I'm going to fulfill my things first, regardless of appropriate social interaction with my environment. In this big red circle, I put the anxiety because anxiety is the most common companion of autism. According to many studies, in more than 50% of population of persons on the spectrum, anxiety plays a really important role. And in terms of important role, no matter how functioning child is, if anxiety prevails, that anxiety will put child back off going forward and enjoying social interaction with people around him. So this is what we call autism in a nutshell. And what autism is technically speaking, it is different development of the brain. And I'm blessed that I have two brilliant options to explain to you. One is Android, other is iPhone. They both have the same function, just like the brain, but they have a different operating system. This works differently, and if I send the files here, it might not be recognized properly. They both have the same function, work as a phone, but they work with the different systems. And this is autism. Autistic brain works in a different system. In which way? So far, we know that that process of child being pre-programmed to be autism is happening in the womb between third and 6th month of pregnancy. You have a really good a video on a YouTube. It's called Underlying Biology of Autism by Stanford University, Dr. Korshen, who talks about these different processes in the brain affecting the development of the brain, so that the connections are actually not filtering information in the way how, let's say, neurotypical brain will work. This is causing brain to read the environment differently and to giving us instruction to act out in a way that looks inappropriate for the neurotypical society. So this is definitely nothing contagious. That is not a disease. We are talking about condition that is, so far as we know, predominantly caused by genes. We don't know how genes exactly communicate. We have a list of the genes who are in charge for brain development, and these are potential traits for us, how we can find potential treatment in the future. But so far, we know that the genes play significant role in that forming of the brain. Do we have any questions so far in terms of understanding autism?
I think I had a question like, if it is in genes, is there any test currently to determine during the pregnancy, or because I hear a lot of parents saying that it was not in 1 or 2 generations back, and I don't know where it has come to my son or daughter, whatever. So, what would you like to say to such parents? I mean,
Unfortunately, as I said at the beginning, the only way we can come to diagnosis is through observation. We do not have blood tests. We do have a brain scan to confirm that information is traveling in different ways, but this is still not being used as a diagnostic tool. So we need to rely on the observation. Genetic test as such has not been developed to confirm the autism. We know statistics, and statistics vary from country to country. Britain said, National Autistic Society, that 1 child in every 100 born has autism. Whereas in America, they already claim 1 in, 50, 1 in 55 will have autism. So the percentage is really high. Again, National Autistic Society said that in overall population, 1 child in every 100 born will have autism, and potential sibling, younger sibling in the family where there is already a child with autism, this percentage goes to 1 in 20 that younger person will at least have a speech delay. So which observation we can note about autism. I mentioned in the presentation, ADOS, ADOS is the screening test that professionals in the UK and the worldwide are using to observe the child, to observe the features, and to measure them against what we call typical developing child. That's one source of information. Other source of information is interview with the parents, asking parents about the child developmental trajectory, gathering information from other professionals, and gathering information from the education, from nursery or from the school. So this is how we are getting about it. Okay, so as I said, autism is difference in the development of the brain, difference in perceiving, processing, filtering information, and acting upon that information that you're gathering. So it's about understanding your environment, planning what you're going to do, and decision making and executive functioning. What am I going to do next? What's my plan? Sensory differences. So my little friends could be either oversensitive. So for example, you will see children that when there is a really loud noise passing very fast, car passing the road, they will cover the ears, or even vacuum cleaner, blender will cause them to do this. Sometimes they don't like the light, so they are hiding and trying to stay. They're asking for curtains to be down because light is affecting them. It is just too much for them. On the other side of that sensitivity, so you have a very hypersensitive to input, but you have undersensitive when it is not enough for you, so you need more. So some children will make a noise because brain is telling them, give me more. Some children will walk very close to the telly to watch those colors because they will get all of that input. Brain is telling them to do that. So it could be either oversensitive or undersensitive. Imagine two cups, one really big cup and one really small one. In the small one, if you add any additional liquid or sensory input, it will overflow very soon. The big cup, you can add as much as you want and it will not be enough. So these kids will always be undersensitive. This applies to any of the senses that I already mentioned. For example, I always give my personal experience. My inner ear or my vestibular bit, which is one of the senses, is very hypersensitive. I don't go to any ships, any boats, anything on water that waves like this, any roller coasters, I will be instantly sick. I'm hypersensitive, therefore I've learned to protect myself and not go there. If I was undersensitive and my brain is asking for more of that dizziness, you will see children who will constantly spin until they don't fall down, tiptoeing all the time. This is how they're giving and supplying that what brain is asking them to do. Same goes with the touch. Some children like a hug, like a lot of pressure. Some kids are hypersensitive to touch. I'm hypersensitive to touch. If I'm preparing the food and a hot sprinkle of oil comes to my fingers, I will not be able to control it. I will move in a matter of a second, like I did just now, because I cannot control it. I constantly have idea, sprinkle's gonna come, it will hurt me, and I must run away. So I'm extremely hypersensitive to touch. Difference in communication. So communication is two-way process, me being able to express myself, but also me being able to understand what you're talking to me. So it's kind of two-way process. And very often it happens in autism that sometimes you have children who might be verbal to a certain extent. That verbalization might be rather exercising of the speech, repeating the nursery rhymes, repeating the adverts from the telly, letters and numbers. But when it's about to understanding or receptive speech, they don't get it, what you're saying to them. And it appears you're talking to them in a foreign language. Difference in relating, interacting with the others, starting from calling the child's name and child not being responsive. Child in a group of the children without the skills how to socially interact with the others. If the child sees bunch of Lego toys, other children playing around, child will rush in the middle without ability to make a request, without knowledge how to ask, can I play with you in a sign language? Child will go just inside and grab whatever child wants because brain is telling him to do so. And they need, I'm now starting to scratch the answer to ask about learning. We need to help children to understand the relationships, to understand the communication, to understand what is appropriate behavior in certain situations. And this is how we'll help them to understand the environment. While at the same time, we need to learn the environment. What are the needs of that person so that we can live together? We just don't want to plant a child in the middle and trying to letting the child to fight on its own. It's not fair. It's not good. And I think that the support must be joined between the home, between the setting, but also with our own societies where we live in. Insisting on sameness routines, lack of flexibility of thought. So I already mentioned that. They insist to go in the same way on their route to school. If you change your direction, you will have a big, massive tantrum in the cars because they were geared up. You told them in the morning, you showed them the bag and you said, we are going to school. Okay, I get it. You put him in a car. You're going straight down the road, but then you remember, I need to collect something from the shop, and you turn left. Enough to put them off balance because they were not geared up for change, lack of flexibility. And when they are nonverbal, the fastest way to let you know that they are not happy is the behavior. And also at the end, anxiety is the most common co-occurring condition. I already mentioned that anxiety as such will affect the children to engage to any kind of activities. Very often my little friends can be even school refusal, staying at home, because going to the school is massive challenge for them because school is full of people, full of children, full of noise, full of unpredictable things, all of which can trigger my little friends to be really anxious, including a lot of noisy environment and a lot of kind of background noise that they can all soak up in, but they cannot filter. If you want to spread the word about autism, or you have a young person who is aware of his condition, but that doesn't understand it, I would really advise you to watch this one on the YouTube. It is available on many international languages. The movie is called Amazing Things Happen, 11 minutes long, and it gives a really lovely presentation about how we all are different, how the brain in autism is different, how we all have different skills and different kind of challenges, but we all are the same. And it's kind of a very nice way how to pass the message to environment, but also to young people who are struggling to understand their condition and almost going against themselves and being angry at themselves for having that condition. We need to explain to them that, hey, this is the condition, it's okay. Let's see what we can do and how we can support you so you can enjoy the life like any other child in the environment. Potential challenges we have at home, at school or the nursery, and in the society. At home, I would really advise all the people to understand their children, to not to compare their children with any other, their friends, their relatives. Every child is the world for him or herself. And we need to have a tailored profile for each and every one to understand how the child communicates, even if it's nonverbal communication, how the child protests, what are the child's likes, dislikes, what the child likes to play with, how the child reacts in certain situations. When you have that profile and understand it, you can share that profile with the educational setting so that they can have it. They are aware of the child so that they don't have to explore this again. So this is where I'm talking about connection between the education and home. Within the school, my team is doing the development of professional development of the staff that works in nursery in the schools, and we are constantly delivering various education for training for professionals. Me personally, I'm talking about the anxiety in children, and I'm talking about how potentially this can affect the children and what strategies we can put in place. We talk about using of the visual support for children. We're talking about observing the child and understanding reasons for the behavior and consequences and how we can support them with this behavior. So we just kind of cut down in trenches all of it, and then we are trying to deliver training about the about autism. Way forward, acceptance. It is a diagnosis. As such, any kind of diagnosis is challenging for family. I know that everybody would like to get some other news. It's quite normal, quite common. I've been through this experience with my family, understanding the diagnosis of my really close family members. So acceptance derives, and it should start from the understanding of the condition. This kind of talks will help you to understand. As many people on the spectrum like to say, we are not broken, we are just different. Accept me as I am, and we can move on together. Don't try to shape me, to change me, because then you are forcing me to work against myself. You need to adjust your expectations. Very often I have, let's say, a 5-year-old boy whose skills and development is the age of 2.5. Parents have expectations for the child to achieve the same targets, but we know that his capacities is here. So we just need to remind the parents that, hey, let's go back just a little bit, 2 steps back. Help me to make one successful step. Celebrate it together and move on gradually. You cannot jump 2 steps, 3 steps at a time with my little friends. It is not a sprint, 100-meter sprint. This is the marathon. And they need to learn gently, with a lot of repetition, with a lot of use of reduced language. So you don't tell me, Mr. B, come here quickly, dinner is ready, and bring me your phone. You lost me already after the second or third word. Mr. B, dinner. Even more helpful, Mr. B, and show me the plate. And I will understand by seeing the object, what do you want from me? Adjustment of the demands, as I said, help me to understand the request. Help me to understand what's going to happen next. Understand what are my capacities and don't push me beyond my limits. I will be extremely frustrated. You will be even more frustrated. We're going to clash. Given my very good memory, I will remember what we did last time. And if you present me with the same activity, I will reject it no matter what. So be really cautious when you are approaching my little friends, and try to be really bare from the scratch and try to help for them to develop their skills milestone by milestone. Don't jump too fast. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. So, for those who recently joined, I just wanted to tell you that when Mr. B refers to my little friends, is his own sweet way of calling the individuals and children's on spectrum.
Yeah.
So make
Sorry
sure.
about
And
it.
this slide is like it's more about what we also as a society should do. I think the first point itself, acceptance, is a big thing.
Yeah, main problem in India is there is lack of awareness.
Awareness, yeah.
Second thing, they don't go to the doctor for testing and all. and lack of communication, education. We don't have many special school for such
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
That is the
Agree.
main problem. Main
And
problem, we don't have schools for church children, and they send to normal school only.
The, if I can, Rosie, if I respond to this one, in Britain, 70% of children with autism are in the mainstream schools. We
yeah.
just don't have sufficient specialist provision, number one. Number two, not all children with autism will require specialist provision. They will be able to cope in the mainstream school with appropriate support. And our role is to provide that support, to help professionals to understand the challenges and to put in practice some of the strategies that I already mentioned here in the presentation, including providing predictability, providing routine, giving them advance warning with the transitions. We are using a lot of visuals. We are using something called now and next board. Now is what we are doing now, and next what is going to happen, so the child can see that short-term transition. For a long-term transition, let's say for the day, we are using the visuals. Morning, it's assembly time, coming to the school, leaving your bag, sitting down, having English class, having break, having maths. So it's just all day like a slide in the park so that the child can see what's going on. When we are finished with the English class, because it's on a Velcro, we remove that and the child can automatically see what follows next. So this is how we are providing that predictability and routine for my little friends. So use of visuals, it depends on the child's abilities. Some children will need pictures of the activities. Some children who have more skills will be able to read the schedule. Some children who have autism and learning difficulty will rely on real objects. So when there is a meal time, we're gonna put a plastic spoon or plastic fork. When there is a playtime, we're gonna put a little kind of toy. That means the child is going out to play. When there is a maths, we're gonna put one number so that the child associate real object with the activity. When we are constantly use the same way how we are approaching the child will soon understand what is our request. The most plastic example is toileting. Always use the same word, Mr. B, toilet, and show me either nappy or toilet roll. In that way, when you pair the words with the real object, after 5, 6, 7 times, I will understand what is going to happen. And this way, you are helping me to transition smoothly from my play to activity that I wasn't planned. But you help me with the planning by giving me warning in advance. Okay? Apply modifications. For example, when you know you're going to the, thank you for that, for the Jakarta. When we are going for the shopping, big shopping mall, try to give your child ear defenders, sunglasses, because there is a lot of kind of lights over there. Help them to understand the structure. For the children who have some skills and understanding, give them the structure. If you're going to the shop, give them the shopping list that they can be focusing on. They're good, they can focus on certain things. So you today, your list is bread, milk, and bananas. Let's find these. Why those 3 things? Because you will always find them in the store. Don't put something that might be missing in that store because you're gonna have a big tantrum there. This is safe bet. Give it to me as a list, and I will hunt it until I don't find it. When I find it, praise me over the moon. And let's have that activity as a joint activity, something that we both can enjoy like a play. You must be the biggest clown in the room if you want to get your child's attention. You must be much more entertaining than this tablet, computer, television. You will figure out that your child likes something, and like blocks, puzzles, get the same kind of toy and start parallel play with the child. We call it intensive interaction. When you start copying the child, then child, out of the blue, you become more interesting. And this is where interaction starts. My colleague, speech and language therapist, we went for a home visit where the little fella was, only thing that he would like to do is ripping the paper into small pieces day by day, and family didn't know what to do. So far that he managed to hand up of all the documents, birth certificates and everything. He ripped everything. So what we did over there, and we presented to mom how we can engage him in the play. In 5 minutes time, from him turning his back to us, ripping paper, she was going all the time next to him, ripping her own paper. And out of the blue, she started looking at it. Now she decided to share her paper with him, and he accepted that interaction. Gradually, they start exchanging paper. Then she started pouring with the paper clips and paper confetti on his head. He enjoyed that play. Within the 5 minutes, they were chasing each other in the room. So from diagnostically described aloof child, not engaging, by joining the play, you got engagement, you got attention, you have interactive child. This is the role of the professional and of the family if you want to engage the child. Be the biggest clown in the room and be kind of understand what they like, and this is your starting point. I know that you have different ideas, fair enough, different expectations, fair enough. Start from where your child is at this very moment and move on from there. Celebrate every little success from here to the moon and back. Let me know that I'm good at something. And then, gradually, when I mastered this, stretch me one more just stretch me one step more. If I'm successful in doing 4 pieces puzzle, and I do it myself, brilliant, let's move to 6 pieces puzzle. If you cannot handle the 4 pieces puzzle, I'm gonna make 3 pieces finished. I'm gonna save it that you can put only 1 in. When you put it in, I'm gonna make you a cake. I'm gonna make a party. So that the next time I'm gonna give you a challenge for you to put the 2 puzzles. Which one you want? Help me to choose. Keep it out of the distance, out of your reach, because you will have to reach, and reach is one step from pointing. Pointing is very often missing in my little friends. So you need to stretch me just a little bit so that I can feel the challenge, that I'm conquering the challenge with your assistance, and I'm celebrating that little steps. Questions?
Okay. I think Anna had mentioned that Anna is from Michigan. She had mentioned that my grandbaby is autistic.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
How old is grandbaby?
Hi, good morning from Michigan.
Hello.
Hello. I'm sorry, I just woke up. I was very sick last night, and that's why I'm late into the meetup. I don't want to open my camera. I'm still in bed. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, my grandbaby is 5 years old,
Okay.
and the process here in our area, you have to be the baby has to be diagnosed first for having autism, and it has to be proven that he is autism before we get help. There are so many support and help here actually.
After diagnostic.
I'm sorry, my husband is listening to you too. It's very interesting.
Yeah, the process here is you have to have the child diagnosed first, and that's the big hurdle. After that, there are hundreds of different programs that are available to help the children from the state, from public, from religious organizations. But the big hurdle is getting the funds together to actually have a child diagnosed. It's like $1,500 to have a child diagnosed here, and you have to go through, I think, 3 or 4 different steps in order to get there. And it's a shame. I mean, if you're wealthy, that's not a problem. But if you're poor, it's taking forever to get anything done for that family. You know, it's like trying to understand how it all works. But your speech actually helped us understand a little bit more about our grandson. I thank you for that. That's wonderful.
You're very welcome, as they say in sign language. Welcome. But what I want to say, I wouldn't be able to reassure you, because in London, and London's got what? Just maybe around 9-10 million people. In our borough, before the COVID, we managed to reduce the waiting time for the clinic to maybe 3 or 4 months from the moment the child was referred until the child got to the clinic. COVID caused a lot of troubles. Now, waiting time for the clinic in London is between 15 and 18 months. Unfortunately, like in Michigan, in my title, Autism Post-Diagnosis Support Worker, unless your child is diagnosed, I will not be able to support you, because there is only 5 of us in the team. And if we open that gate and we are already flooded by the request, this is free service. There is no charge for it. I'm running 2 courses for under 5s and over 5s. Waiting list is this big, you know. And now if I open the door for potentially a suspected child on the spectrum, and parents go through the process, and it turns out that the child is not autistic, then we might be causing a lot of upset to that family. So I think that it's kind of two-edged sword here. I hear what you're saying, I absolutely understand it. But my advice for everyone in this world, are you suspecting autism? Is there a speech delay? Yes, you can wait for the diagnosis, but internet, although it's a big curse with so many things over there are a lot of good stuff, a lot of free stuff, and you can start doing stuff at home with the potential of looking at the diagnosis. So in terms of understanding your child's needs, so now I'm going to talk without any diagnosis. Understand the needs, understand the level of communication, understand how you can approach, understand that you should join in and not impose your requests. Understand predictability, routines, respect those, warn me in advance what is going to happen. All these things you can put in place without the diagnosis. So diagnosis is just a signpost and, if you want, password for other services. But I always urge families, don't sit back, don't wait for that final hurdle. Don't waste time. This is my message to everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Any questions around the diagnosis, around the strategies, anything that comes to your mind?
Sir, I have one question. Actually, this question is by my friend, and he's traveling. He has sent me one question. I'm reading his question right now. My son is 8 years old, who has developmental delay. He has the issue of writing. He is not able to write properly yet due to his tight muscles. His social behavior is very normal, and he is in 2nd standard in normal school. So his first question is it right to send him school as he is not able to write properly? It is his first question. Second question is he has the balloon burst fear. And during any birthday party, he hesitated to go to his friend's place for celebration of birthday. And even if he went to his birthday party, and he cries a lot by seeing a balloon. So how to cope with this situation? And sir, last question is it right to repeat 2nd standard again this year because of lockdown? He has not studied well. So these are some questions, 3 questions.
Okay. So to start with writing, inclusive education means integrating the child with the additional needs into the mainstream school. It is brilliant concept if it's fulfilled properly. If my special education needs is inability to write, we have two things. Some occupational therapy strategies to help you with the physical part of your fine motor skills, holding the pen. That's one thing. But other thing, if you're able to type, I don't see any reason why you should not be allowed access to the computer or laptop if it's much easier for you to type. If this is your need, your special need, in the mainstream setting that is inclusive, they should consider it as an adjustment, as I mentioned over there in my presentation. So this is now a question for his educational setting, whether they are flexible enough to allow child to have that kind of extra support so that he can enjoy and achieve like other children. So that was the first one. The second was, the third was balloon. What was the second one?
Balloon burst fear.
Okay. Okay. Now we have,
party.
Yes, we have two kind of problems here. Let's call them a problem. One is parental wishes. Parents want the child to be socially engaging with the other people around him. Absolutely fair request. Principal and core feature of autism is problem with social interaction. Mm-hmm. So you are, technically speaking, trying to push child to go into the kind of grotto in the worst possible scenario, including potentially balloon bursting. Mm. We have a couple of options. Don't go anywhere. We don't like that option. Negotiate with the host. Can we make sure that there are no balloons there? Or balloons are somewhere in the safe place so that nobody can pinch them and explode. I think if people are inviting you to that kind of settings, they should take into account your child's needs.
Agreed. I think this is what acceptance you are talking about, the societal acceptance. I think this is an excellent example that shows that if you want a particular person or child on spectrum to come and enjoy, then you should take care of being a host. You should take care of the party. I think that is
in terms of accommodations. Can we have ear defenders? I very often give example of my colleague. Her son is on the spectrum. She's got 3 kids. Son is on the spectrum, 2 daughters who are not. The father of the child is on the spectrum also. Mom is trying whatever possible to take her family all around London and beyond to engage the child in social activities, for him to be happy, to explore the world like anyone else. Whenever they come home, she asks him, how was your day? This is what she gets. And she is kind of on the edge of frustration. What shall I do to make him enjoy? One day he went fishing with his dad. He came back home and he said, Mom, I had the best ever day of my life. What did you do? Help me understand so that I can replicate it. Well, I was sitting here quietly fishing, and Dad was sitting there quietly fishing. We didn't talk. This is what he likes. Why would we challenge that? We can, when he is ready, we can engage by letting him know there will be no balloons. If we agree with the host, we're going to stay for an hour so that the child is prepared and geared up. Trust me, in 59 minutes, child will remind you that it's time to go. You must respect that. So these are unwritten rules, unwritten contracts that you are signing with your child that must be respected. No 5 more minutes. No, just a minute. No. When we said 60 minutes, that's it. And this is how my little friends operate. I'm always giving the example when one mom came to talk with me at the clinic. She wanted to talk about school and she came with a then 10-year-old boy. He had campaigns of interest. My friends always have a narrow interest for something. First of all, he was very into this popular show, Top Gear. He knew every car, every country they went there, who said what. Then he changed to some popular other show, and now he's into game of chess. Now, social interaction goes like this. Me and mom talking about the school, he steps in. He doesn't pay attention to social rules. He doesn't have a social handbrake. And he said, Mr. B, yes. Do you play chess? Yes, I play chess. How many games you play in your life? Couple of thousands. How many you won? I don't know, 2/3. And we can go on 1,000,000 times. But I said to him, listen, you can ask me 2 more questions. After that, I have 10 minutes with mom. Deal? He said deal. So we had a contract. He asked me 1 question, I responded. He asked me the second one, I responded. He tried to ask me the third one, but I said the deal. 10 minutes. Okay, he was quiet, but he was looking at his timepiece. So I had my 10 minutes with mom, brief, very sharp. Let's do it. After 10 minutes, I must give him attention. This is predictability. This is routine. This is how you are helping child with his expectations or her expectations. But you must also respect that contract.
Yeah. Dr. Deliana here from Indonesia also says that, Deliana, if you can speak, you can speak. I mean, if you are able to. Otherwise, I'll ask you a question.
Teacher, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
My friend's last question is remaining that he wants to know that is it right to repeat him in second standard again this year due to pandemic? He has not studied well, so that he wanted to know.
Okay, so this is down to your country's education. Yeah. I know that it is allowed in Britain.
Yeah.
We call it deferred start. So the child's supposed to start year 1. You can ask for the start to be deferred for a year. If the child is still not ready mentally, physically, on any other shape or form, cannot cope with the crowd. So it really depends on your country's regulation. The principal thing that I must repeat all the time to my parents that I work with, you have 2 questions to ask yourself when your child is going into the education. What is the most focal part the child must learn? Basic skills, social interaction with the others, basic maths, basic English, but self-help skills. Can my little friend, can the child eat on his own? Put the clothes on his own? Can the child help you at home with sorting out the dishes, sorting out the clothes for the washing? Give me all the black stuff, give me all the white stuff. Help me to be independent as soon as possible, because this probably is the much greater skill than educational achievement.
Yeah.
So you just need, I'm going to come back to the first sentence in my last slide, acceptance and understanding of your child's skills and help your child to be independent as soon as possible. I was observing child in the nursery with his teaching assistant. She's sitting next to him. And because of his sensory problems with the food, he eats only certain types of food. His mom is always bringing him a packed lunch so that the staff can open the lunch for him and give everything to the child. Now, I'm in the nursery observing what's going on. Little fella is like me, looking all over the place, not interested in the lunch. Tap on his shoulder, turn around. Teacher opens and start opening stuff and giving it to him. Wait, I said. Let's wait. Waiting is the biggest skill that anyone can have. Let him request, because you can open the box, lunch box, and wait for him to give you something that has to be opened. I know that you know what he wants, but if you do everything for the child, you're doing something that we call learn dependence. You're going to do everything for me, and I will have no need to invest any effort to do anything. Therefore, I'm not learning anything. And that teaching assistant told me, yes, but I know what he wants. Me too. Wait. She said, I need to sit on my hands. Sit on your hands. Wait, I want him to make requests, to socially engage. When I show you the juice, this is the brilliant information for you to model the language back to me. Juice, open. It's ideal opportunity. When I show you the crackers, open. Give me one cracker and wait. Don't give me whole of the package. Wait. When you want more, show me in sign language more, another cracker. So I'm going to have 4 or 5 opportunities for exchange. If you're having banana, let me cut it in 5 pieces. You want banana? Okay, 1 piece. Sit back and wait. If I come your way to request for more banana. There you are. So you're going to create communication opportunities. It will not happen on its own. You need to be a little bit creative to give them a little bit of a challenge, not hard challenge, but light challenge that they can conquer very easy. As I said, acceptance and adjusting expectations.
Yeah.
I remember one mom, and I'm blessed really to meet so many friends, my little friends, children on the spectrum and their parents. And this is the wealth of experience that I'm happy to share with everyone. One mom came to talk to me. She is a mom of the child who's got a lot of skills that was previously described as high functioning autism. I told you that now we call it autistic spectrum disorder. But that child, when the child is verbal and has average or above average intelligence, but is socially different and not engaging that much, we call it high functioning autism before. So this mom came to me and asking, because she is a writer, famous writer, she wants higher achiever, she wants her child to achieve the same. She wants her to be, I don't know, engineered or whatever. And I asked her, well, what is it that your child likes? She likes baking. She likes to bake the bread. I said, what's wrong with that? I mean, it's, we have so many artisan bakeries in London, very popular. This could be a way of living for your child. Independent. Child can be happily doing whatever child likes, enjoying in it, and make a living. Why do you want to bend that? Why do you want to shape the child in a different shape, and you are creating unhealthy environment for the child? Isha, more questions.
Yeah, no, I was just reminding that there's just a minute in case if anyone has a question, because then we are running out of time. So I'm sorry, it's a time bounded too. Deliana, go ahead. You wanted to ask, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so actually it's not asking, so just would like to say thank you, Isha. And also how I spell your name?
You just say Mr. B and I will turn my head.
Okay, Mr. B, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm medical doctor by training. I have several colleagues that working with the autistic, but at the moment I'm working for a pharma company. I'm not again practice in the clinic anymore. But definitely, I saw one of my family member who also get autism. And I said, here in Jakarta, I would say some clinics are available. And then, the younger parents, they got some informations, but it's totally contrary with the other cities in Indonesia. So, there's some limitation in understanding. But again, I think the awareness is really important. And thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. And one more thing I would like to add here is autism is not a disease that can be cured. It's not a disease. So don't think how I can cure it or how we can help somebody else to cure it. So it's not a disease. It's just the way that child was born with the best example Mr. B used was of an Android phone and Samsung phone. Sorry, iPhone. I have a Samsung, so I only say Samsung. So, sorry, my bad. So it's like both the phones are different. They have different functionality, different use. So similarly, children on the spectrum or the adults, they are not mentally challenged, or they don't have any other issues. Only thing is the way they react, or the way they see certain things, the perspective might be different. And I think that's the reason, that is what makes us a diverse and a unique personality, right? Everybody. And the world also becomes a diverse world only when we have everybody who is different. Imagine if everybody would have been same, there would have been no Isaac Newton, there would have been no Einstein, and no
Yeah.
discoveries, right?
There are people, you know, if you think, lately I like classical music. If you just sit down and listen to any of those complex symphonies,
Yeah.
how music gets together, what is the mind that creates the drums, trumpets, violin, piano to go all together? It's mission impossible. And I can imagine that mind thinking about it. Has to be something specific.
Yeah.
And you have to be so narrowly interested in that one that you know you excel in that one. Perhaps you might not be the best in cooking, fixing the car, doing this and that, but you have your narrow interest. No wonder that, for example, it's quite common, and you can find the studies about it. Silicon Valley in the US is a high percentage of the people on the spectrum working over there. And there is a reason for it. Computer and science around it, it's very easy to be understood. 1001001. You know, do you understand how the system works? And my little friends are pattern
Excellent in that,
seekers.
yeah.
They understand it. I don't understand it, and you can talk to me about from now until tomorrow. But they just get it, and they can function with it. Now, do they have a social skill to sit in a canteen together and chat? Maybe not. But can they do the business, and they do the business well? They
Yes.
can. A lot of advertising companies are using these days, all of them for the IT, picking up the glitches, picking up the IT coming around. They're good in spotting the details. And this is what we can utilize their kind of skills for. I know young people who know whole of the map of London Tube, each and every stop, how lines are crossing. They can sit down, and tomorrow they can work on the info center telling you where to go and address you in the fastest possible way. So that's a skill in itself. You just have to think about what's your skill and how I can support you to develop it so that it can be used. There was another question asked over there.
Yeah, Tejal Bin had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Here it is evening in the India. So I will just share you a few things. I have heard that Indian education regarding. So, but I am by profession I am a teacher, and I am connected with since last 5 to 6 years with the accessible school, which is mentally retired children. They are teaching to the mentally retired children.
Okay.
And now I'm teaching in the school, hospital where the psychological patients are those who are in depression. So I'm taking them to the positive, and I'm taking them to the positivity. Just cut short for that our Indian education is totally, we are going to change as per our Prime Minister. Since within 2 years we are changing the education policy, so children will not face any problem. It is very nice and very you can those I have heard this question about the Indian education, that's why I'm repeating. So no need to do any changes currently. Please wait for 1 year. That is my side as a teacher. I'm a teacher in teaching field since last many years, more than 15 years. So my request is please wait for 1 year, then you take your further decision.
I just want to share my opinion. Don't treat children who have autism differently from any other typical developing children. Period. If you want to go to park, just think about how I need to adjust, but let me be part of it. We spoke about the birthday party. Can I use the ear defenders? Can I maybe be in a quiet room there and just step in when there is a cutting the cake and come back to in my safe place? Can I know for how long I'm going to be there? It is about preparation, planning, giving a lot of warning, giving predictability. Don't give me surprise. I don't like surprises. This is how my little friends operate.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a quick on how autism friendly Google Map features are. We can find autism friendly places on the maps. If you just search autism friendly, you will easily get restaurants and everything on the maps. You can add useful photos and videos, as local guides. Like, for example, this photo I had posted of a school cafe, where they teach employment skills to young people with autism. You can also check out useful reviews if you want to go to a particular place. Like, for example, here a person has written for his friend that my friend has autism, and so finding a restaurant that he not only enjoys the food but also feels comfortable is a big deal. So this is kind of a nice review, I guess, and we as local guides can surely write this.
Yeah.
Another good feature is lists. Here is a list that I've prepared. This is a screenshot of that. Autism friendly eateries in London. So you can I'll put the link on Connect, and you can just go and check what are the features that we as local guides can check out. When we want to help children or adults on the spectrum. There is a very nice map feature that I like is live info and popular times, because the children or adults on the spectrum generally don't like crowded places or loud noise or whatever sensory needs. So they can, looking at the live info, they can come to know, okay, it's crowded now. Maybe we should plan to take our child, or maybe I should go later. So this is one of the very, very useful features of maps that I feel will help. The second one is about features, wherein you'll come to know if it's wheelchair accessible and other things like how is the atmosphere, is it good for kids. So suppose if a person is taking his or her autistic child on the spectrum, they would surely like to see if it's good for children, if there are healthy options, is there dining available. So this is a small example wherein you can use the maps features to help the children or adults on the spectrum. Next is live traffic updates. Not everybody likes crowded places or likes to wait. Suppose if a child has a very low variance to the traffic, then maybe this is the best use of the Google Maps that you can do is understand if there is traffic or not before you leave. And restaurant and business updates. For example, some of the supermarkets here in London, they also have autism special hours, wherein it's less crowded, the lights are dim, so people can go and shop there. So you can get those updates as well as on Google Maps. So I think that's it from my side. In case if you guys know any more features or anything that has helped you using Google Maps, you can just share it now, and the forum is open for questions again. Anyone?
Okay. Thank you ever so much for coming from all over the world. Really, really pleasure. And hopefully that you pick up some flavor about autism. Watch that lovely autism short movie. Amazing.
I will share that with these. Yeah.
Really nice, really understandable even for young people who have a spectrum to understand what is their condition.
First of all, thank you, Mr. B, for giving the time and time to explain the concepts, answer everybody's questions with so much patience. And I've seen you have got a tremendous patience, when it comes to answering questions or anything, and no question is silly for you. So that is a really relief. Anyone can ask you questions related to autism, and we really admire the way you're passionate about helping people, and you help so many families in and around London, and now you're helping globally as well. So thank you so much for coming to this webinar. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Quick interruption, Isha. very quick. Is it, Mr. B? Is it okay if after all what you talk about today, and we would like to practice it to our grandbaby, and is it okay if if I can reach you, like for example via email or anything, if I get a question?
You got my name there, and just Google me and look for
Okay.
Mr. B, and I'm happy to answer to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You really open our eyes about what we are facing right now, and it helps so much. Thank you.
You have one happy man here.
No, really, thank you so much.
All the best, everybody around the world.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
nice
you, sir.
day.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.